Hi guys and welcome to the channel, welcome to my first video. I thought I'd just take a quick minute out to introduce myself. I'm Figure Photo Shots, and most of you may know me from Instagram, where I sort of post photos, figure photography, and show off my collection and stuff like that. I've decided to make a YouTube channel because I wanted to go essentially in depth with my thoughts on certain figures. So yeah, the first figure we're starting off with is the Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy 15 Spider-Man, which came out last year now, since it's 2023. Happy New Year's, guys, as well. Yeah, so it came out last year, and I think this was a big moment for Hasbro Marvel Legends in general, with sort of establishing themselves with a amazing Spider-Man figure, which sort of could hold the title of one of the best Spider-Man figures ever made, and like worth for the price. So I think the price for this guy in the UK, I think I ended up paying about £28 on pre-order. I think in America it was about 32 US dollars. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I recall. So for that and what you're getting, it's a very good value figure, and I just want you to take some time to go through it and maybe do some comparisons to the other Spider-Man figures in my collection. So yeah, let's start off with the accessories, what you get out of the box. So you can see the figure here out of the box, and you'll get 3 other pairs of hands, including the ones that it has on out of the box. You have the open wall crawling hands, you have the fisted hands, you have the thwipping hands, and then you have the sort of gripping hands and the web holding hands, and then you have the web as well, which you can see on the screen, and then you also get the web wings. Now I just want to take a quick stop at the web wings. You can see both web wings. You can see the first ones on, of course, here, and then you can see the extended ones, which are sort of supposed to make them look like they're flying here. And yeah, I think I just want to talk about quickly the engineering on these guys. So standing here, it looks great. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty natural. And then you turn around at the back, it looks okay. But then as soon as you go to move any part of the figure, yeah, it just looks unnatural. They peg into a hole in the bicep, which I can't lie, they're hard to peg in and they easily fall out. So I'm gonna take them off for the purpose of the review. And same with the extended ones. You can see them here. When you try and plug them in, they're pretty tricky. I mean, it's even trickier to do on camera. I did that pretty easily, but they look a bit more natural when you're moving it around. So, but at the end of the day, when you turn it around, it just doesn't look natural. I think they've made the right decision including these for people who want to have it displayed like that, because I would choose to have it displayed like that sometimes. And I think they made a good decision having them pegged in rather than maybe, you know, like a cloth coming down here and coming down here, and then you can just sort of pose it. But I don't think that this is just not for me, essentially. I would easily pass on those and like displaying with those and just messing around with those, especially because I like to pick up and pose my figures. It's just not ideal. You can only have them in a very like few amount of poses, which, you know, as a collector, it's not ideal. But yeah, let's now we looked at the accessories, let's just take a closer look at the figure. So if I bring the figure a little bit closer, we'll start with the head. You can see very nice paint job and just overall sculpt. They did have a new sculpt for this head with the new short, like more closed eyes, which replicate the first appearance Amazing Fantasy suit quite well. And then as you come along down the body, you have a nice web pattern. The big spider, more round. I think they've done that really well. All that's done really well. On the back as well. Quite simple design, so it did make sense for them to get it right. A nice black colour for the underparts and back parts, so, and the legs, of course. And yeah, just nice webbing pattern throughout all. It's pretty clean, pretty sleek. It is quite good. one thing I've seen here with a few other collectors, not happened with mine yet. Apparently this paint here is chippable, so this black paint. Also same with a lot of other Marvel Legends figures, Spider-Man figures specifically, the newer ones. The paint is chippable, and that reveals the red webbing pattern, which is just automatically printed onto the plastic, which isn't ideal, but I haven't had any personal problems yet, so I can't really speak on that too much. But with that being said, let's get into the articulation. So with the articulation for this guy, we'll start at the top of the head. Head is on a ball joint. So they didn't do the dumbbell joint, which they have been using for a lot of figures recently. They've just stuck with their ball joint, which is fine by me. It looks up about that far, down about this far, side to side. Mine's a little bit stiff, and these figures, Spider-Man figures especially, can be stiff in places. You get a little bit of head tilt. And moving down the body, we've got the butterfly joints, which some do come stiff out of the packaging. Mine are actually pretty decent. Obviously, the more you play with them, the more they're going to loosen up. You've got the shoulder, which goes up about that far. You've got bicep swivel with that peg sticking out there. Or sorry, the peg going in there. You've got the double jointed elbow, which is always nice. You've got the wrist swivel, which is wrist swivel and hinge on every hand, which is good. And obviously you do have they're all just not all of them actually. You've got two which are forward hinges, so with these hands and the whipping hands, and then you've got the gripping hands, which actually have the sidewards hinge, which sort of moves like that, which is so it can hold the web properly. And then we move to the torso. We've got the ab articulation here. We've got the chest, which moves. You've got a nice range back and nice range forward. You don't need too much range here because it doesn't act as his main ab crunch, but it does act as his main side swivel. So that's something to keep in mind. Sounds like ratchet joints. I wouldn't put my money on it being ratchet joints. It might be. But yeah, still very, very sturdy and solid. It will hold. Then you've got an ab crunch. I think this new mold that they did for the Spider-Man did wonders for the sort of posing or whatnot. Which goes back that far and forward that far, which is good. You get him in good swinging poses and whatnot with using that. Come down to the legs. You've got your same Marvel Legends legs, which I have my opinions on, but I'm not too sure. They're pretty decent. I mean, some of them can come loose. I've had a lot of them come loose before, and it's not something that you ideally want to have loose. Kicks forward about that far. Back up, not much at all, really. You've got the thigh swivel, which you want to be careful with. I'm not going to swivel it too much, although I can swivel 360 just for the purpose of my own figure. You've got the knee joints, which are double knees, double jointed knees, which can reach about there, which is pretty decent. You've got I think this articulation is fairly new. You've got ankle swivel, which I think is pretty good. It allows you to, when getting in some more weird like poses, which you want to get Spider-Man in ideally, it does allow you to do those as well. Then you've got your normal foot. It's quickly to note, there's no toe articulation, which they have added to the Renew Your Vows, which we'll be comparing him to in a minute or so. But yes, there's no toe articulation. I've also got my opinions on that as well, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, with the articulation done, let's move to some comparisons. Okay, so here's my comparison segment. I am only going to compare him to these two Spider-Man figures that you see in front, as they're sort of the only ones that I feel like people now tend to have as their definitive Spider-Man figure in their collection, if they want like some sort of comic Spider-Man. Obviously, we could go on to MCU and we'll be here for days because Marvel Legends just reuse molds for MCU. You've got the Mafex, you've got SH Figure Boss, which is my personal favorite for the MCU Spider-Man. But yeah, I'm just going to compare them to these two figures. So on the right we have Renew Your Vows 2-pack Spider-Man, and on the left of him we have the Mafex reissue of the McFarlane Spider-Man. McFarlane, not to be confused with McFarlane Toys, McFarlane Design for his comic era. So I think a big deciding factor of which one's going to be your definitive Spider-Man is number one, price, because this guy is not cheap. On the reissue, I think I got him for about 60 Great British pounds. But if you didn't manage to get him on a retail price, you're probably going to be looking about upwards of £100. And yeah, it's unless you're a hardcore collector, it's not something you want to be paying for a Spider-Man figure. Especially with Mafex, I could go on for days about how much I hate Mafex's QC and whatnot. He looks great, but there is loose parts on him, and Mafex tends to have that problem, as experienced Mafex collectors tend to know. But yeah, it's a good one. Also, it depends on whether you like that McFarlane look, which look you like, because I feel like if you're gonna if you think of Spider-Man, you think this guy. I think into mind would just come this guy, because you got your blue, you got your big eyes, you've got, it's just perfect, in my opinion, perfect look for a Spider-Man. But my preference is with this one, and I've had a lot smoother experience with the mold, because this mold is slightly different. If you do want me to do a separate review on this one, of course, I'm not going to get too much into it now, but yeah, the mold is slightly different. Bulkier, as you can see, taller, as you can see. He's got the toes, which I don't really like. I've had two figures with that toes now. This one and the new Daredevil 3-pack, which I can also review if you want me to. Just let me know in the comments. And the toes have been loose on one of them, and the toes been fine on the other one. When a toe articulation is loose, it tends to affect standing for the figure quite a bit. So it's not something that I tend to prefer. I just like the flat feet that stand. Although Mafex did do well with the toes, I won't lie. They did decent, but they loosen over time as well, just like anything. And Mafex tend to loosen a bit faster than other things. So yeah, with comparing these two, I think I genuinely think for the price and what have you, because Renew Your Vows comes in a 2-pack, I forgot to mention, with Spinneret, and that is around $60 and £50, I think. So, and the other figure in that 2-pack isn't exactly a favourable figure. I've collected in my collection ever since I've seen that Spider-Verse trailer, and her being in that Spider-Verse trailer. It's going to fit well in the collection now, but before that, I was contemplating selling it. So, yeah. And overall, I think that this is the one I've had the smoother experience with, joints wise, paint wise, just everything. I think has mostly been pretty good. You get a decent amount of accessories for what you're paying. It's not an extortionate price. I have seen not a lot of people, I've seen a few really bad cases of QC with this guy. That is just a case with every action figure. I think Mafex has the QC, Hasbro has the QC, SH Figures have the QC issues. It's just luck, and I wouldn't really let it affect my opinion on the figure. Of course, if it personally happened to me, I would be annoyed, but I hope everyone who has experienced QC with those figures has gone back to where they've purchased them and has been able to be compensated of some sort. But yeah, that's comparison over. Yes, guys, we have reached the end of the video. In my opinion, this is one of the best Spider-Man figures that you could pick up right now for the price that you're paying and what you're getting for it, essentially, articulation-wise, paint-wise, and accessories-wise. I think this is one of the best ones you can pick up. This is all down to preference, as this is obviously the Amazing Fantasy look. Some of you might want your classic red and blue, but I personally don't think the red and black suit gets enough love as it should in the action figure world. And I'm just really happy that Hasbro decided to make this. And yeah, it will be my favourite out of the three that I showed you. And pretty much have the whole of my collection, which if you do want to see, you can head over to my Instagram. Link will be in the description, where you can check out more figures, pictures of this guy, and keep up to date with what I'm collecting. But thank you so much for watching. If you did like the video, don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe and also share with family and friends. And I'll see you in the next video.